Right, we are streaming. I'm just sending the show over to Jesse, and we're going to start in once we're solid. We're going to be talking about how the left tries to back you up with false guilt over past wrongdoing and stuff like that. You're guilty too, so shut up.
The Hake Report, the Hake Report, la la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report, the Hake Report, la la la.
Good morning, guys. We're going to be talking about guilt, judgment, and shutting people up. Such as Bill Cosby, what happened to him. He's just one example. I just had to put a black man with guilty on it. But, seriously, this may be good.
Oh, it's the Hake Report, the Hake Report, la la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report, the Hake Report, la la la.
Good morning, guys. You can call in at 888-775-3773, 888-775-3773. So, I wanted to talk about how liberals and people in general want to make you shut up when they feel that you are being a hypocrite or something. And I looked up guilt or guilty in the Google image search, and I scrolled and scrolled and scrolled past a whole bunch of, like stock photography stuff, stock images, and the word guilty and stupid stuff like that. And then the first real person that I came across who was not acting as though he was guilty as an actor was Bill Cosby. So I grabbed that shot and used it for the thumbnail of this podcast. And I was thinking of using like O.J. Simpson or something like, because O.J. I believe is guilty, and Bill Clinton, I don't know. And, but either way, I don't really know. But regardless, Bill Cosby is so much better of a suggestion for this case, because O.J. never really spoke out on moral issues, but Bill Cosby did. He called on blacks to pull up their pants, take responsibility, just do better. And that caught a lot of backlash against him over the years, and he was always kind of like a little bit liberal, into the black thing a little bit, but he did have that old school values to him, even if he apparently slept around and partied and stuff like that and had sex with a lot of women and made a lot of enemies because he had a strong personality. People with strong personalities tend to make a lot of enemies and a lot of friends. Look at Trump. But Bill Cosby was targeted specifically because he calls on blacks to do better and be responsible and all that. And I'll prove it to you. I've proved it to you in the past. I've mentioned this story, and I butchered this guy's name, but I think I have it now. Hannibal Buress. I called him Cannibal Burgess or something like that. At one time I said Burgess Owens, and I apologize, Burgess Owens, because you're a good guy. Burgess Owens is the football player who's like a conservative. Hey, I don't believe that's really... Okay, Maxine Waters is watching. For a second I saw Maxine Waters, and I apologize, but I was thinking Maze, one of my regular callers on the show. For some reason, I linked Maxine Waters with Maze, and Maze is a much better person than Maxine Waters, I think. So anyways, Bill Cosby, Hannibal Buress said in his comedy skit, he mocked Bill Cosby with the "pull up your pants," and then Hannibal Buress retorts, "Yeah, but you rape women, Bill Cosby, so blah, 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 blah." And when he said, "Yeah, but," he really doesn't mean "yeah, but." He means "no, because you rape women." and you're a worse person than we are, or you were a worse person than we are. Because I don't really believe that Bill Cosby at his age, in the last maybe even 10 years, has been sleeping around all that much. Certainly not raping women. So anyways, Hannibal is a black liberal, and there are many black liberals too. One guy that I mentioned, I believe last week or the week before, who wrote this book that was promoted in Equalizer 2, Ta-Nehisi Coates. He wrote about Bill Cosby. He's like, I should have known, or I should have spoken out, or something like that. He was all pretending to beat himself up over letting Bill Cosby slide. And he called Bill Cosby a black conservative. Stupid. So anyways, like, these guys specifically targeted him, and then the women targeted him because they, hate good too. These are like vindictive, probably liberal women who were accusing him. And some of the accusations may have been true. Some of them may have been stretched, because people tend to stretch the truth when they want to get back at you. And so they make you out to be worse than you really were, even though you were maybe wrong. And it looks like he did do some wrong things, and you do wrong things and you catch hell for it, especially if you're trying to set an example, because you become a target. The Bible talks about that. Like, be blameless, it says, because if there's anything that they can blame you for, they're going to do it. But that doesn't mean that you should shut up about telling what's right and what's wrong. And even while we have these issues going on in our lives, I don't believe that we should necessarily shut up, which is what they want you to do. They want you to shut up. Or, in the case of Jesse Lee Peterson, Jesse had a child out of wedlock over 50 years ago, and the blacks are still holding it against him because they're pretending that they care about hypocrisy. They're like, oh, you're a hypocrite because you had a child out of wedlock. They don't care about hypocrisy. They don't care about what's right. They just want to feel good. And they want Jesse to be, for every time that Jesse talks about having children, blacks being wrong for having children out of wedlock, they want him every time to say, but I did it too, so don't feel too bad. Isn't that stupid? But that's what they want. And you'll notice, like, people pleasers really have this bad. Like, they want to include themselves in the issue that they're pointing out in the person. They're like, I'm guilty of this sometimes too, but, blah, 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 blah. And that's so pathetic, because you cannot soften the truth by doing that. You may think that you're just avoiding being a hypocrite, but it's not really working that way. It's making the other person feel better for being wrong, because I'm wrong too, and nobody's perfect. Well, that's not true. People are supposed to be perfect. Christians are supposed to be perfect. Just because I'm not perfect it doesn't mean I shouldn't be pointing out right and wrong. So that's what I think. Liberals do the same thing to Jesse, by the way. It's not just blacks. There's been white atheists and all kinds of stupid people trying to call out Jesse for having a child out of wedlock at 18, when he admitted that it was wrong. They wouldn't even know about it if he didn't tell it, if he'd never told it, and he tells it quite regularly. But people don't want to admit the truth, especially when it comes to, like, somebody good unyieldingly calling out evil. And one time this black juror, and I will get to your calls, but one time this black juror told me, when I was like 19 years old, I had jury duty. She told me, I don't believe in serving for jury duty because God said, judge not lest ye be judged. And I'm like thinking to myself, wow, that's interesting. But like after I thought about it, I was thinking to myself afterwards that that's not really what it means. Because you're not, especially a juror, you're just determining whether something actually happened, whether somebody actually committed this crime or not. You're not judging them. You're just judging whether they did something right or not. And the Bible also says Christians should judge the world. So anyways, people have a really bad, and there is, for a long time now, I want to say 20 years since I've been aware, about 20 years, maybe a little bit less, that I've noticed there's been this anti-judgment thing. Anti-judgment. Like, you cannot judge me. Because that's like a bad feeling when you feel judged, right? Especially when your conscience is pricked itself. So and white people are judged even though they get accused of judgment all the time. Christians get accused of judging all the time, and they're the most judged people too. And yes, Christians do become judgmental sometimes, and whites do secretly judge sometimes, and they're wrong for that. That's called fear, actually, because Christians know what's wrong with blacks so often. But I'm just going to type something to my co-screener. Christians and whites and men, too, have this bad because they are, in a sense, more powerful than others. And so they feel guilty with this power. They feel like they don't deserve it or something. I think what it is they are judging, but they're just secretly judging because they're full of fear. Men and whites and Christians have been under attack, and they've been put in a position where they feel like they cannot speak the truth. Men about women, whites about blacks and every other race, and Christians about everybody else. It's Christians about gays in particular. Okay, so I had one liberal professor who said, you can't judge the homosexuals because Christians are divorcing and remarrying. Can you believe that? He's literally justifying doing wrong by saying you're doing wrong too. And I never divorced and remarried, but I've done wrong stuff too in my life. But he basically said Christians are hypocrites, and so they have no basis for calling out homosexuality. And he makes a point, if you want to give him that point, that Christians do need to become perfect, because many Christians are divorcing and remarrying and doing all kinds of wrong things, accepting sin. But that doesn't mean you accept homosexuality too, just because you're accepting every other sin. You should stop accepting the sin and not accept homosexuality. Duh! So anyways, let me go to my caller, KT. KT, out of Maryland. How are you doing?
Hey, what's going on, James? How are you?
All right. How about you?
I'm doing good. It's been a while since I called into your show, into Jesse's show. Man, Jesse's show has been very, very difficult to get in. Lots of calls.
Right. Yeah.
But that's understandable, though.
Where have you been?
I'm always in the chat. Always in the chat.
Cool.
Just hanging out. I can't get I can't get online, so
Right.
I just stick in the chat and just watch and listen.
Cool. It's good to hear from you. So
good to hear from you too.
Do you have any comment about this judgment thing and guilt stuff?
Yes. Actually, very. I just had a thought, and my thought is, liberals and people usually in the fallen state don't believe in redemption.
Yeah, that's true.
They don't believe in redemption at all.
That's very true. For example, the gays, they think gays cannot change, even though they grant that some gays have more sexuality fluidity or something. They're so
right,
and that's so wrong. That's like giving hopelessness. I guess that's why they have very low standards for blacks.
Exactly. I mean, even my own family, friends, members, they look at me now, and for example, I'll say something, and they'll be like, "Oh, you used to do that. Oh, you used to do that too." And I'm like, That happened, 12 years ago?
Right.
When I was still a little 14 or 13-year-old? That happened 15 years ago. And you're still bringing that up?
Right.
And I'm like, you just can't. You can. In their eyes, they just see you as, just being judgmental, right?
Yeah, but meanwhile, they'll judge you forever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's very true. They really don't believe in redemption, and it's sad.
Yeah, that is so true. I hadn't connected that before, but friends that I've had for like decades, they will hold something, and people in general hold on to stuff for decades,
exactly, right,
years, and they'll hold it against you. Especially once you become adults, like it seems to get even worse. It's so evil. Anything else, KT? Because I have another couple of questions for you.
No, go ahead. Go ahead with the question.
Stuff going on in the news. Did you happen to watch Kanye West supporting Trump on the Jimmy Kimmel live show?
Yeah, I did watch it. I just watched the clip on Twitter. I didn't watch the whole interview.
Yeah, what part did you see?
He said, I saw his tweet about the interview, and he said he was asked a question, and he didn't get a chance to answer the question because they went to a commercial break. And my point is, when they came back to the commercial break, did he have a chance to answer that question?
No. They never. If he answered it, they never showed it. Like, that was probably my favorite part of the interview, actually. And I didn't mind that he never addressed it. Because, okay, let me tell you guys what happened. And I love that you brought this up. This was exactly what I was thinking about this morning. So Kanye West supports Trump, as you guys all know. Kanye West is that rapper. He caught a lot of hate from our side, myself included, for saying on TV that George Bush doesn't like black people or doesn't care about black people. This was back during Hurricane Katrina. And then he he went on stage and told Taylor Swift when she won some Grammy or something like that, I'm going to let you finish, but Beyonce's video was the best ever. And so like he's caught a lot of hate over the years, and maybe deservedly so, but he's always been very outspoken and kind of fiercely independent-minded, egotistical kind of, I think. I think he's anyways, he was on Jimmy Kimmel because he kind of went nuts, and then he supported Trump, and then he kind of went nuts, and then he supported Trump, and he went nuts, and he supports Trump. So he goes on there, and he says, we have to try love. We have to, just rather than hating, for example, Trump, is what he's alluding to without saying it. Try love. Try embracing. And Jimmy Kimmel goes, yeah, but quite frankly, talking about the illegal alien families, he didn't say illegal alien families, but families are literally being torn apart at the border. And Kanye just makes this face like he doesn't know what to say, like he has no response to it. You don't know if he's mad or stewing or sad or no emotion, just has no response. And I loved that because he didn't try to make anything up. He didn't try to get into an argument with this guy. Jimmy Kimmel has been notoriously anti-gun, anti-Trump, just stupid. A stupid liberal wannabe comedian. I mean, I think at one point he was funny, but he's not that funny anymore because he's so full of hatred towards Trump. And this whole thing about the families being separated at the border, like, I could go off on that. But Kanye doesn't know much about it and doesn't have anything to say about it. He just knows that Trump is a good man. And so I loved that he didn't have any response. And it was kind of interesting, like, I think that I actually think that Kimmel's professionalism kicked in. Like he saw that he didn't have any response. It was a little awkward. Let's go to break. So I didn't really mind that situation. I did kind of want to hear a response, but I didn't mind that he didn't have, like he literally looked like he didn't have a response. And that's fine. You don't have to have a response to everything that these people bring up. I like that better than the canned answers by the, the pundits. You know what I mean? Where like somebody like a Candace Owens would have a practiced response to something like that. And I like Candace, I guess. I don't know much about her, but I'm saying that somebody like her, I've just seen her as one of those people who are facing questions like this. So I've never seen her actually face a question like this, but I can just picture her or somebody else who supports Trump, who knows a lot more, all intellectual. Right. I just liked Kanye's realness with that. So it's kind of like this guilt thing. Right. Kimmel is trying to push guilt onto Trump supporters, all that, by pretending to care about these families, so-called families that are being separated at the border, as if it's not their own fault for being separated and coming to the country illegally in the first place. But anyways, they're separating just to come here. They're not coming here together. Anyways,
exactly.
So that would be like my response, and I would go off kind of like that. But I liked how Kanye just responded, just with a silence.
But the thing is, and the fact that he didn't respond, but liberals went off on his Twitter, mocking him for not responding, making fun of him, and
but they're
saying,
blind.
"Oh, he's still thinking about it." Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. But for them, in their eyes, they see that as a weakness.
Yeah,
they see that as a win for Jimmy Kimmel.
But in reality, it's not. Yeah. Like, and I see I know your point, and
right.
And that's kind of why I wanted to see a response, because like in that shallow kind of intellectual thinking, I feel the same way somewhat. But in reality, it's not. You see a real person, and you see this guy giving this fake canned concern for illegal alien families. You know what I mean? Like you see a real person responding in a real way by not responding.
Exactly.
And you see it's so nice. And even if he gave an answer, it would be worse if he made an answer. And like Joel says, you don't have to agree with everything. Maybe Kanye doesn't know that much, or maybe he doesn't agree with Trump on that issue. But he wasn't going to turn on Trump with it. He's not going to say, "Oh yeah, I agree with you" or whatever, because that's
right.
That would be turning on your friend, and I think Kanye may be more loyal than that.
Right. And you know who else is very underrated? His wife, Kim Kardashian. I think she was on Kimmel, maybe 2-3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And he asked her similar questions, and he tried to put her in a box. He tried to catch her with a few Trump questions, but she held her ground.
Nice.
She held her ground, and she gave very, very good answers, and I gave her a lot of props for that.
I wonder if Andre, our old audio engineer, will accept her back into the Armenian. I was going to say Armenian religion, but Armenian race again, because she showed some courage or something, some dignity. But yeah, that's cool. That's nice to hear. I heard something along those lines. I saw some headline that Kim Kardashian said something nice about Trump or something like that. That's cool.
She's very. People give her very little credit, but I think she's very smart.
Yeah.
And she articulated her points very well. So
wow, that's her. I
give her props for that.
I forget that she bleach blondes her hair sometimes. Yeah. And she doesn't look particularly white, but she may just have a really good tan. My cousins look like that, actually. A really good tan. My cousins have a really good tan. True. So I used to not realize that Mexicans were not were that much different from me. Anyways.
Oh man, and another thing, I just wanted also to say, I mean, since I never got the chance to get on Jesse's phone lines, you know, the past callers from the past week have just been, you know, amazing.
Yeah.
Very inspirational calls, and you know, people giving, and you know, the past few calls from this past few weeks have been amazing.
Yeah, they really have. I love the fact that that Jesse is dealing with the stuff that he's always really been about, and which is to say forgiveness, anger, dealing with parents and relationships and stuff, and morality and all that, as opposed to like politics all the time. And debates are very fun, and I want to bring more to that show. But I love all of these callers. They're like, there are so many of them, and like we're putting some of them up on YouTube, but there are a lot as like their own excerpts. But there is a lot. And by the way, Joel cut a great testimonial like type video, and we put it out.
I saw that. That
Friday
was
night.
very nice.
Yeah, wasn't that nice? And it was like
that was really nice.
The title of that video, if you want to catch it, guys, is called "Listen to This." Listen to this. It's one of the most recent releases on the Jesse Lee Peterson YouTube channel, and unfortunately, I don't have the link to it in the description. But I have a link to the channel in the description under executive producer Jesse Lee Peterson. So anyway, appreciate it, KT.
Thanks for having me, James.
One last quick question. You're close to DC, am I right?
Yes, I am.
I heard that, and I could be wrong, that Unite the Right Rally 2.0 was going to be happening either in Charlottesville or DC. One of my mods, spoiler alert, mentioned that.
You know, I heard about that. I've not been following that story, but I've been, you know, I heard people at work talking about it. I heard the news talking about it, and, you know, they were saying, you know, there's white supremacists who are going to come to D.C., and, you know, police presence is going to be really heavy, and, you know, I'm not really going into detail, so I don't know much about it.
We have a picture.
I really don't care.
We have, me neither. But I just like to know about it just because it's going to be talked about if anything happens. Like, I have a picture up, Joel put a picture up from last year of that Dodge Charger, the white guy who drove into the crowd. That was a wild scene. And it's funny that the media still is talking about white supremacists. I don't know too many of them who consider themselves supreme, but I do know some of them are white nationalists and, you know, alt-right. I don't know why they don't just call them alt-right, because that's really what they are. But many of them, I think, are civic nationalists. At least that's according to Richard Spencer, and he doesn't tend to just lie about stuff. Last year, Richard Spencer went on Periscope and said, you know, white nationalists, civic nationalists, historic preservation type people, and all these people are showing up at this rally, and it was the police let it go out of control. Antifa started attacking people. And I think that he was telling the honest, plain truth. And the media doesn't like to, they like to call them far-right protesters and counter-protesters. They don't even call them Antifa or far-left, which is what they are. You know, the alt-right's not even far-right in reality. They're just into the race thing. And that doesn't make them far-right. But they're like, it's total lies. And so you just can't go with what the media says, which is kind of like what I like about Kanye, because he doesn't fall into that. Spoiler alert says, reminder that the leftists were still allowed to march in the streets during the official state of emergency. The car crash was during that time. And that's true. They let, you know, the Antifa, the far left activists who are against so-called anti-racist activists, which is really anti-good. They didn't have a permit to be there. The alt-right had the permit.
Exactly.
So it's a mess. But they're not going to tell you the truth, and
I,
you just have to expect that.
I know, and it's really sad. It's really sad. A lot of people fall for that, and
Right.
the regular normies who don't dig deeper into stories and just believe everything the media says. They eat it up, and I've seen a lot of people get traumatized by this news.
Yeah.
And I see people work every day just talking about the news every day. Don't concentrate on work.
Right.
And their lives
don't you hate
are just
that?
in shambles. I'm sorry?
I said, don't you hate that? I've had times where like people will just talk about the news and not do their work.
Right. It's very uncomfortable. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't talk about news at work. I just listen and shake my head because I really don't want to engage in conversations with anyone like that.
Makes sense.
It's just amazing what this whole new paradigm we're in has done to people, or what Trump has done to people.
I'm glad Trump is there, man. Anyway, I appreciate it, KT.
Yes. Oh, definitely. Definitely. Thanks for having me on.
You had a last comment you wanted to get in there?
Oh, no. I just wanted to say, just keep up the great work, and we'll be here supporting you.
All right. Appreciate it, KT. Good to hear from you.
All right. Good to hear from you, too. Take care.
All right. So, I wanted to make one more point about Kanye, and this is a negative point. JG asked me in the Discord, and if you don't know what Discord is, you need to wise up and get in there. If you go into the description of this podcast, or YouTube description, whatever you're watching it or listening on, scroll down to where it says Discord and click that invite link. That's an invite link. And you can join into the Discord where you can chat in chat rooms with fellow Jesse Lee Peterson / Bond / The Fallen State / The Hake Report listeners. And you can chat by voice or by text. And JG is a faithful viewer, and he asked me about Kanye West being like an acceptable Trump supporter to the media. And in a sense, I think it's kind of true. And I'll tell you one example that JG brought up Kanye's lyrics they're kind of pornographic. And I'm not familiar with pornographic lyrics from Kanye, although you can't put it past him because most of these rappers do have pretty pornographic lyrics, I guess. But on this Kimmel interview, and this was a negative thing, he somehow brought up that he still looks at porn something. And like they were talking about it and joking about it, just making pornography and looking at it and using it acceptable. And that is so wrong. I think that, I think Kanye doesn't know better, so I want to cut him some slack. But he's being used to promote this stuff that, like these are fathers talking about this. Married fathers. Like Jimmy Kimmel is a married father, I believe. Like he cries about his kids all the time, pretending that he cares about the people who get shot up in like mass shootings so that he can promote gun control. And he pretends, this is on national TV. This is not, it's late night, but it is, kids see this, young people see this, the world sees this, and they're saved recordings. People watch it on YouTube. It's not restricted. And meanwhile, they're restricting like Alex Jones and stuff for like showing the same stuff that these big media companies show and like telling the truth about it. But anyways, like promoting that stuff and making it seem acceptable and all that stuff, that is so wrong. So JG, I agree with you. That's an interesting point that Kanye is in a sense being kind of co-opted to still like, yes, he supports Trump, but yes, he still supports evil. And they want to make evil acceptable so that everybody feels good about being wrong. And there's been guys I've heard. I remember hearing one guy put it so well, like people think that there's something wrong with you for seeing something wrong with them, and that is so true. And there oftentimes is maybe something wrong with you too, but you still got to not be accepting this stuff. So, I wanted to bring in Joel about this thing a little bit. Joel is my former co-host of the Hake Report with Joel and Esteban, or Esteban. And Joel is now my board operator. Cool, huh? Well, he's always been the board operator.
Nice.
So what do you think about all this stuff that we talked about today?
Well, the Kanye thing is interesting. How I was just saying, you don't have to necessarily agree, agree with everything, because, I mean,
with what Trump is doing.
What Trump is doing and stuff like that. There's not you can still be for somebody and not agree with everything, and
right.
necessarily who really in actuality agrees with everything that everyone does.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Not realistic. So I just totally think that it's fine if he disagrees. And I do like your point that you made, how I like how he's real about it and he doesn't try to give an answer or even backslide because he didn't have an answer. He just is quiet in himself about it.
Yeah.
Which is cool to see, because if you're not always going to have an answer, but insecurity or whatever the case is going to make you feel like, oh, well, now I'm a fake this.
Right.
So I'm going to say something so I don't look fake, but he's just honest about it, which is cool to see too.
He could have easily gotten himself into more trouble by like making up something or saying,
right.
Saying something negative about the illegals that he didn't want to, that he wouldn't necessarily want to back up.
Right.
You know?
Right. And that's what you have to, and that's why I respect Kanye regardless of what, and I agree that it's wrong that you shouldn't be gloating about the pornography and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And clearly that's right. And I also don't think that, I think that he does know better.
Yeah.
But he is just crazy.
Yeah, and he lives in
wild,
that.
yeah.
He lives in that very shameless world, which is
Right.
which is rap, which is like Hollywood.
Right. And,
I mean, he's
right.
married to a Kardashian, and she made her name
Right.
she became famous first for making
Right.
a pornography tape
Right. And
with somebody else.
Exactly. So there's he's around all the time. So I think that, but it still is wrong. But I still respect Kanye for being honest with everything.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
that's cool.
Well, appreciate it, Joel. And by the way, thank you for the that testimonial video. That's cool.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
Man,
No
you guys got to check that out. And you made a longer one, right?
Yeah, there's a longer one ready to go too.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we should put out that longer version sometime, maybe this week or so.
Yeah, which what it basically is just the full interview of full conversation of those callers. Yeah, so
right on.
You can see that.
Yeah, that's very cool. And so yeah, we should put that onto like the Bond Rebuilding the Man, rebuildingtheman.com site and all that.
Nice.
People will love it. I want to talk one more thing. This Unite the Right thing. The left talks about how these are white nationalists. We touched on it with KT. They act as though these are the most evil people that existed. And I was watching a movie yesterday, and I had seen this movie. You can pull it up, Joel. The picture of it. It's called, what was it called? Shutter Island. And I'm watching this movie, and like I have like this new awareness that I'm being propagandized. And I've always kind of had this awareness that I'm being propagandized by watching these movies. And anytime you watch TV, it's basically propaganda. And I noticed that they're pointing out like this Shutter Island thing takes place in the 50s, and it has Leonardo DiCaprio and Mark Ruffalo. Mark Ruffalo did a good job in that movie. Like, I have not liked him since he came out as being anti-Trump. I see him as a weak, disgusting person, but he did a good job in this movie. And I did not recognize him right away. He has like a classic look on he has a classic looking face. So, but I'm watching this, and the reason why I don't like Mark Ruffalo is because he's so disgustingly anti-Trump. And then I watched another movie about like, what was it? Some superhero movie. He's the Hulk, I guess. And like
Avengers.
Yeah, Avengers. I saw one of the Avengers movies. It's the first time, and he just looks so kooky and corny and weak, even though he's supposed to be Hulk. So anyways, back to this Leonardo DiCaprio thing. And DiCaprio, okay, I still love his acting. I like love him as an actor, but he is like, these people are so used. Leonardo DiCaprio, I think he spoke out for environmentalism or something stupid like that, for the United Nations. These people are so used for evil when they're out in the world. And it's because they get into this world, much like Kanye did, this self-congratulatory world where you think that you're something just because you have this worldly success. And you think that you see that you have this powerful platform, kind of like Colin Kaepernick does, where you feel like using it for activism. And we've talked about that to death. But more than that, like this movie itself was promoting like basically questioning America, calling America evil, and also calling like going back to like this Hitler stuff where Hitler killed all of these Jews. And so what happens is basically, from what I get, so the point of the movie is he became what he hated because he saw all this traumatic, all these dead bodies, and supposedly he shot up all the guards, he and some of his fellow American soldier buddies. They shot up these guards in basically murder. And maybe he did and maybe he didn't because the movie is so bizarre. And so you never really know what's going on with this movie. Well, some people do who are maybe smarter than me. But anyways, like, it's promoting this thing. It's promoting, like, all of these, like, this Holocaust stuff and then this American stuff. And promoting this, like, understanding, not punishing the mentally, criminally insane. This guy becomes like this guy who has this bald head, and he's working with Mark Ruffalo. Is saying that we don't want to like lobotomize you, and yeah, I'm not for lobotomies at all, but basically like makes this psychiatry thing out to be a good thing. Yeah, there's the guy. He looks like Lex Luthor to me. So like it's this twisted thing where they're promoting basically America and Nazi Germany is like the worst imaginable thing. And then they make like a side reference to communism, like Stalin. Very, very side note type stuff. Because communism, they support. Hollywood supports communism. And so they want to make like a side comment about it. But meanwhile, they're casting like Hitler as the worst thing when they don't want to point out the evil that the commies did, and that they're doing themselves. You know, most of these Hollywood people are for abortion and all that stuff, and abortion is like so evil, so evil. They want to pretend that they are humane and human, and everybody else is inhuman, like they created monsters out of American soldiers. It's really discrediting American soldiers who go through trauma stuff. It's like this post-traumatic stress disorder stuff. It's kind of like, for one, it's an excuse to get rid of the gun rights for veterans. And veterans are some of the most capable gun owners that you can find. Veterans are like some of our they're kind of like our homeland line of defense, citizen like militia. Many of the militia who went to this Unite the Right rally last year, they're not white nationalists. They don't necessarily agree with this white nationalist stuff. In fact, most likely they do not agree at all. They also showed up to these to the Black Lives Matter rallies. They were basically like establishing order. These are veterans. They're called oath keepers, and you'll find a lot of propaganda in like these what are otherwise very interesting, good movies that is promoting distrust and suspicion of good people, which is to say veterans. And it's providing no solutions, too. They really don't have solutions for PTSD or anything else. They're promoting false love and false understanding. So I just wanted to mention that. Let's see. You can get involved by calling 888-775-3773. 888-775-3773. I was not high while watching this movie. First of all, I don't get high anymore. No. Okay, I've smoked weed once. This guy, don't lie. Okay, so I have an intern. He's telling me don't lie. But I did smoke weed once, and it was like, you get the same guilty feeling as anything else that you do wrong. It's weird. Even though, yeah, okay, actually twice. I did it twice. One was by accident. I didn't know that I was doing it. I was tricked. I thought I was just vaping. I didn't know that you could, well, I kind of knew, but I didn't think that you could do, smoking while vaping. I think we talked about this on the drug episode, back when it was the Hake Report with Joel and Esteban. And we were very G-rated, according to Mark from Los Angeles. But I smoked once, and that was like out of a pipe thing. And it had like a spinning thing, and yes, I did inhale, and it was wrong. Geez, I can't believe I'm talking about, maybe I shouldn't be talking about this it's too late. Yeah, so that was the THC thing. That was the THC stuff that's doing that to you. But the other time I was vaping, and vaping is, if for those who don't know, vaping is like a pen thing. It's basically this electric cigar-looking thing, and you suck in it's basically steam, I think, or vapor, water vapor.
Some of it has tobacco.
Okay.
Too.
Yeah, they can put anything in it, literally, I think. Like they can put this THC stuff, this which is weed stuff, and but they can also put flavor in it. Right. Like my former intern, a lot of alt-right people smoke this stuff. They use vape. White guys are very like high-stress, judgmental people, so they have to smoke, just like the Asians. Like we don't get it out, so we smoke. We don't express our frustrations the way that blacks and Hispanics do, so we smoke. Have you noticed that? You'll see Asians on their porch like squatting and smoking. At least the old school ones. And I will get to your call. I appreciate it. But yeah, you have to be careful. Some of your friends are not friends. So this guy, like, he gave me this orangey flavored stuff, and so I vaped, and like, come to find out the next morning I was high, and it was not a nice situation. Anyways, I thought I was like possessed, and I think I probably was. They talk about pharmacia or something like that. It's basically like letting, I don't know, the connection between the body and the spirit is interesting when you're doing wrong with your body. Your body is like a temple, and so you shouldn't be messing around with it like that. Anyways, let me get to my callers. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
My name's Kareem, and I'm calling from San Francisco.
Hey, Kareem, are you on a speakerphone?
I'm on my earpiece.
Okay.
Can you not hear me well?
Yeah, it's kind of echoey. If you're able to come off of it, I think it'll come through better.
Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, that's a little bit better. Are you on speakerphone now?
No.
Okay. Oh man, this is terrible.
I'm sorry. I apologize. Can you hear me?
I can kind of hear you. Let's do this. So
Okay.
I'm young and I can understand people. My ears are young, and I think that the listeners can follow me. Tell me if you can't hear in the live chat, please. All right, go ahead, Kareem from San Francisco. You said.
Yes.
All right, what's up?
So I'm calling. I was born and raised in San Francisco. I was raised as an Americanized Muslim. My parents are both Muslim. As a child, I was, prayed 5 times a day. I was very strict. I had a very strict diet. As I've grown older, I've kind of distanced myself from religion altogether. But I'm calling because I am kind of at a confusion point with my views as far as politics goes. I've seen San Francisco. I feel as though Democrats have ruined San Francisco all and all through. There's no middle class whatsoever in San Francisco anymore. It's really more or less above the wealthy line or homeless. There's no in between. Everybody that I know that I've grown up with has moved out of San Francisco.
Stay close to the phone, Kareem. You're kind of
okay. Sorry.
So you're coming in and out a little bit.
Okay. I apologize.
It's all right.
But yeah, I've seen this state of San Francisco go totally downhill, and the policies that they have in place, that they're trying to put in place, as far as immigration and certain things that I've seen them do with the homeless epidemic that's going on in San Francisco, is completely ruined. And as of late, I've started to particularly agree with a lot of things that Trump has kind of put into place in the policy. I've come to have more of a liking in place for it. And everybody I express this to almost condemns me as a racist, so I'm very skeptical of who I talk to this about, and I'm almost nervous about who I talk to this about, because as a black person, I feel like when you have any support of somebody that doesn't believe in the majority, people condemn you without even understanding your views and policies on behind why you support this person. I just wanted to know what your ideas on what you think about the state of California and just the sanctuary state that we have, and the ideas on immigration that we have, and governors and mayors opposing and saying that they're going to openly oppose government officials coming in and going after the immigrants in this state. What do you think about the idea of that? And what do you think about California as a whole and how far left it's gone? And just growing up here, I see it firsthand and how different it is. Like, San Francisco doesn't seem the same to me as when I grew up. When I go in San Francisco now, I feel as though I'm a tourist.
Yeah.
That's pretty much all I had. I've really been just having confusion lately, and I don't really have too many people to talk to this about, because nobody wants to hear about a Trump supporting San Francisco.
Did you used to be a liberal, Kareem?
I was grown that way. So my parents are both pretty liberal, even though they're Muslim. They're both pretty liberal with their views. I wouldn't describe them as Republicans whatsoever.
Right.
I was growing up in this, thought process. Ever since I've come now until recent election within Trump, I haven't really thought of it in any way possible. And just recently, the way things have been going, I haven't really trusted Democrats whatsoever.
Yeah, I don't blame you. And I can understand if you didn't really trust Republicans, because so many of them are kind of fake, in all honesty. But with Trump is like a real guy, and he kind of exposes the fakeness on all around. I completely do not support this sanctuary stuff. They may have like a technical legal right to do this, I guess, because of the separation of powers and stuff like that. But they're showing, in all honesty, they're showing that they do support illegal aliens coming in unrestricted. They don't support law and order. These mayors and the governor and lawmakers and all that, the Democrats who are running California, they do not support what's right at all. And I believe that it's this fake compassion that liberals pretend to have. Some of them may really think that they are compassionate, but it's a false compassion. In general, people in general have a false compassion, and the liberals have it worse than. Well, I don't know. Actually, a lot of conservatives are pretty fake and stuff too. But
well, one thing that's what I think it is. I appreciate.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that's what I think it is. That it's when you're lenient towards evil, evil grows, and that's what's happening.
Well, one thing that you said about Trump, that I really do appreciate about him is that, he doesn't have the identity of what a true, I guess, presidential politician would answer. Like when you ask him questions, he's pretty straightforward. Like he does, and he's not apologetic to anybody. He doesn't care who he offends. He's very straightforward. And I know most people find him as, brash and kind of somebody that they wouldn't think of as a president, but I actually find it refreshing that we have somebody that doesn't give us a typical, answer that everybody wants to hear. I actually appreciate the fact that he's very firm on his views. And, I was talking to my friend about, me and my feelings, and he said, how do you support someone that's openly racist? And when I asked him, what about Trump that you see that makes him racist? He named a bunch of cases in the news, with black people being harassed by police. And I personally, my feelings on that is that racism was always here, but it's just a little bit more heightened now. And people, my community, I'm African American. I feel like the black community uses race a little bit too often as a crutch. Everything that I talk to with my friends, it has to do with race when I don't even bring up the relation of race. And everything that I see in the news is based off of race. And it's honestly tiring itself out. And that's another reason why it's pushing me towards, a different point of view on how I think, because there's no real argument to why people don't like Trump anymore. It's more or less that, he's just a racist and that's it.
Yeah, that's really true. And the thing that I like about Trump is that there's no room for suspicion about Trump because he's so open. Either you're going to misjudge him completely, and like these people are doing, or you're going to realize that he's a real guy and he's genuine and he's a decent person. And he just wants to restore law and order and sanity to the country.
Well, what kills me the most is that, some of these people that I talk to that say that he's racist completely admired this dude before he became president.
I know.
A lot of these people, I've never heard any claims of racism before he became president. A lot of people, he used in a lot of rap songs. A lot of people talked about him. He was somebody that was considered to be admired and somebody to pursue as a successful businessman. But all of a sudden, since he's become president, it's completely about race, and that's it, which it's either one way or the other, It's kind of annoying after a while.
Yeah, it is. It's very tiresome. Like they have no suspicion that they might be wrong, which is, it's a shame.
No.
But they are blind.
No, not at all.
And I think that you are seeing reality and they're not. And you're admitting that you don't know stuff and they're not. Like people hear something and they just assume that it's right, I guess. It's weird. But so how did you hear about this show?
I listened to Jesse Lee Peterson, and he has some pretty far out views. I'm not even gonna lie; they're pretty. I think he's an antagonizer. Some of the things I don't even think he necessarily believes, but I think he's one of those people that likes trolling people. But he said some stuff that is very. It caught my attention. One of the things that he said was he doesn't believe in racism. He believes that it's either good or evil, and people that use racism are using it as a sense of way to control people.
Yeah.
And I 100% believe that because I see it within my community.
Right.
Another story as an example of this, I have a cousin who worked, I'm not going to say the name of the hospital, but he worked for a hospital and he was in an emergency room. He was in an ambulance emergency, I don't know what you call those people that work in the ambulance, but he He works in an ambulance. He got fired from his job, and the first thing that he told me, when I asked him about why he got fired, he said that his manager was racist, and we're living in such a racist society, and they just, people don't want to see us, going up. Everybody wants to oppress us. And when I actually looked into, him, because it's public records, he got fired for giving, too much of a dose of the medication, and there's no reality and no responsibility in my community as far as black goes. We take no responsibility for our own actions, and everything is placed on a blame game.
That is so sad for that guy that he fell into that deep of denial and excuse making. And
yeah, he completely lied to me.
Yeah.
He made it seem as though it was somebody else's fault, and I looked into it. It was really his fault.
And that is so common too. Like all these supposed hate crimes that are happening around the country, you look into them, like there are a lot of these claims they spiked when Trump was elected. And many of the times, like it's either a black person or a gay guy who's like liberal, or a Jewish person from overseas, a Jewish liberal from overseas, calling in like these bomb threats to Jewish synagogues in the States, and like tagging up, writing the N-word on church buildings and stuff like that. That is that is so common that they feel justified faking stuff, and it's so wrong, because this is this guy's livelihood that your friend, the person that was talking to you about that's so he doesn't realize that that's trapping him. Even just lying to you about it is not going to serve him well for his life.
No,
man, that's such a shame. But Jesse.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Jesse has fun with people, but he truly, and I think you've picked up on this. He truly cares about black people, about all people, but about black people. He cares about them, and when he says, like the most recent example, when he said that these NFL, what he calls them thugs, don't care about respecting other people. They justify it by saying, I'm standing up for light for my community, whatever, against this racism stuff. He's right, and he's saying something that nobody else is saying, and it's out of real love. And it sounds so mean, I guess, to some people, and like a mean person might say something like this, but I can tell, I think you may be able to tell too, he really cares, and he really is expressing love like I haven't really seen for the black community.
Well, one thing that he says on the show is that if you really cared about somebody, you tell them the truth.
Yeah.
And within our community, I feel like we kind of bought into this idea that all cops are devils. And I grew up in San Francisco, Hunters Point, which it's regentrified now, but it wasn't that great of an area when I was growing up. It was one of the worst areas of San Francisco. A lot of black-on-black violence. When I grew up, I didn't have an idea that cops were out to harm me. I was more afraid of my own community. I've been robbed at gunpoint twice by people within my neighborhood. I've never grown up with the idea that cops were, my enemies, and cops were against me.
Right.
And if we, as a community, break this idea that all cops are devils and all cops are racist, there would be a better situation between the relation between cops and the citizens. Because if we go at it in this whole idea of we hate the cops and the cops have to be a certain way and every cop is the same, there's never going to be a way to resolve these things that you said earlier with, these heightened hate crimes, or what, I don't even know if they're hate crimes, but just these situations with the police that we hear so much about in the news. I think the media plays off of that. Black on black crime is way more of an issue to me than black or white cops shooting black kids.
Right.
In comparison to, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, finish up.
Well, in comparison to, the statistics, it's not too high as far as when blacks shoot other blacks.
Right.
I've grown up on this. I've seen it my whole life.
Yeah.
When I was out of high school, I had a big box full of funeral, what do you call those programs that I had been to through people that had passed away in my community. I mean, it becomes such a common thing, and I know this is like a nationwide thing with African American neighborhoods.
You talk about
where
murders?
black on black violence is just so common.
Yeah, that's just, and yeah, it's so, that's reality, and they living in what Jesse calls it, an illusion of cops being the problem. And you'll notice this responsibility thing, and I gotta end, but this responsibility thing, how they talk about, Trump tweeted that we want to rebuild the connection or something between the community and the police. But you'll notice that the media and the politicians and so-called leaders are putting all the onus, all the responsibility on the cops to make compromises and be more lenient with blacks and all that stuff. And nobody is calling on blacks to be better with the police and stop running from the police. When Walter Scott got shot and killed, nobody blinked an eye, except for Jesse and, a lot of conservatives, about the fact that he ran from the cop. And it is so common for these blacks to, and Walter Scott wasn't even particularly a big-time criminal, but he ran from the cop, and he did not need to do that, but he didn't want to, serve jail time or something. But there is a lack of responsibility put on blacks, and it's a total disservice to blacks to say the cops have to be better and not the blacks have to be better. But anyways, 100%. Kareem, appreciate your call, man. I gotta end the show. We're overtime, and I appreciate the calls too, Mark and David. But I can't get to your calls. Any last quick word, Kareem?
Well, no, I just want to thank you for taking my call, and I appreciate you guys for telling the truth. I listen to so much news, and everybody in the news, I feel as though is playing towards the people. I really appreciate the fact that you guys speak your mind, and you're very open with speaking your mind, and you guys aren't apologetic to what you say and certain things that people might take offense to.
Yeah.
I want to come into a state where we have free thinkers, and I'm sick of this idea that people that have a different opinion from you can't speak.
Exactly.
Here in Berkeley with Aaron Coulter, Ben Shapiro, and these people that got rejected from talking at these schools really bothers me.
Yeah, totally.
We need to have an open idea forum. That's what this country was built on.
Yep.
And that's where it needs to stand.
All right, Kareem, appreciate it. If you can, I know you're Muslim, but watch Church with Jesse Lee Peterson in 1 hour at 11 o'clock. Bond Rebuilding the Man YouTube. Go to rebuildingtheman.com/church. Thank you, Kareem. Take care.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. Bye, guys. I'm sorry. Take care.